the bite that shook the stars. The Grand Council chamber of the Union of Allied Species was never quiet. Its amphitheater of glass and light, suspended above a gas giant's swirling storms, usually thrummed with debates, trade negotiations, or accusations hurled across species lines. But today, silence hung like a blade over every delegate's head. At the center of the chamber, Admiral Vakhther of the Zeraki Dominion writhed in his hoverchair, clutching his throat. His scaled skin flushed from indigo to a blotchy crimson, his mandibles snapping wildly as his secondary lungs convulsed. Half the chamber shouted in alarm, while the other half recoiled in horrified fascination. The culprit? A single morsel of human food. The Admiral had demanded to try it. The hook. Only 3 months prior, humanity had been granted provisional recognition in the Union, a trial period before full membership. They were newcomers, barely a century into faster-than-light travel, and had impressed few beyond their tenacity in frontier skirmishes. To most species, they were hardy, resourceful, but fundamentally primitive. Their technology lagged behind. Their homeworld was considered a middling resource ball. Their physiology was odd but unremarkable. It was during one of the Council's cultural exchange sessions that the humans had proudly introduced Earth Cuisine. A delegation of officers from different fleets had gathered around tables laden with steaming dishes, platters of seared meats, bowls of spiced grains, and colorful fruits that exuded unfamiliar aromas. The humans themselves had been eager, almost mischievous, in offering samples. Captain Alara Miles, leading the human contingent, had smiled too calmly when Admiral Vakhther sneered at the concept of primitive food. "If your species claims to be warriors," he had growled, "then your rations should be fit for battle. Let us see what nonsense sustains you." Alara had bowed politely. "Be careful what you wish for, Admiral." The bite. The Admiral chose recklessly. Ignoring the gentler dishes, he stabbed one clawed hand into a platter labeled buffalo wings. To the humans, the spicy chicken wings were a casual snack. To the Admiral, they became a challenge. He scoffed at the glistening red coating, dismissing it as paint. "Your prey looks drowned," he mocked, raising it for all to see. "If this is what makes humans fight, then perhaps I will taste your weakness." He bit down. For a moment, the chamber held its breath. Then came the choking, the shudder, the convulsions. His spines flared, his massive body locked, and an inhuman bellow tore through the chamber as the spice detonated across his sensory nodes. The Union's finest medics leapt forward, their scanners squealing in alarm. His body temperature spiked to dangerous levels. His blood pressure surged. His secondary heart missed 2 beats, then 3. The Admiral slammed his fists into the table, sending shards of glass across the chamber as foam flecked his mandibles. It took a full squad of Zeraki guards to hold him steady as medics injected counteragents. Meanwhile, the humans stood frozen, but not panicked. Captain Alara merely sighed, pinching the bridge of her nose. "I told him not to start with the wings," she muttered. Shock and outrage. The council erupted. Delegates shrieked across languages, their translators struggling to keep pace. "This is an assassination attempt," cried the envoy of the Karate. "Humans have introduced weapons disguised as food," hissed the Clarin chorus. "They feed on poison," another species exclaimed, their tentacles quivering. The word spread faster than fact. Poison, toxins, chemical warfare. The medics managed to stabilize Vakhther, but the narrative had already caught fire. Within an hour, an emergency decree was drafted. Effective immediately, the import, export, or presentation of human foodstuffs within council space is hereby prohibited under Article 7 of Biochemical Hazard Protocols. The humans protested, but outrage drowned them out. The decree passed unanimously. For the first time in the council's long history, food had been outlawed. Spikes and dips in the drama. The humans' protest was calm, almost too calm. Alara stepped to the podium, her uniform crisp, her eyes sharp. "You misunderstand," she said, her voice cutting through the din. "That dish was not poison. It was, by human standards, a mild seasoning. The Admiral chose it willingly, despite my warning. But her explanation only deepened the unease. Mild? The idea that this was normal for humans chilled the chamber. If such volatile compounds were part of their casual meals, what else coursed through their strange biology? What kind of digestive system could treat fire as nourishment? Some whispered that perhaps humans weren't suited for membership at all, that they were a dangerous anomaly. The spike of fear rose again when medical scans confirmed that Vakhther had not been poisoned in the traditional sense. No, the food had simply overwhelmed his system. His nerve clusters had gone into shock from chemical overload. "This is not sustenance," the Clarin chorus hissed. "This is warfare disguised as culture." The dip came in the form of unexpected laughter. From the human delegation, a low chuckle at first, then growing, rolling across their ranks. "You're afraid of spice?" one cadet whispered to another. "Should we have served them wasabi instead?" Another quipped. The laughter drew glares from every corner of the chamber. Captain Alara silenced her cadets with a glance. But the damage was done. The humans were not cowed. If anything, they seemed amused. Private moments. Later, in the shadows of the docking bay, Alara spoke quietly into her communicator. "They banned it already," she said. "One bite, and now they've outlawed everything." The voice on the other end chuckled. A deep, gravelly sound. "Let them ban it. Fear is a weapon too. They'll never look at a human meal again without remembering that their strongest warrior almost died from a snack." Alara allowed herself a small smile. "So, we let them believe it's poison?" "Why not?" came the reply. "Let the galaxy whisper about us. If our food terrifies them, imagine what they'll think of our weapons." The cliffhanger. Back in the medbay, Admiral Vakhther regained consciousness. His first words, rasped through swollen mandibles, were not curses. They were questions. "What was that?" he growled. The medic hesitated. "They call it buffalo wing, a common Earth dish." The Admiral's eyes narrowed. In his mind, shame battled with awe. A warrior of his caliber brought low not by blade or blaster, but by a human delicacy. His voice dropped to a whisper. "If this is what they eat for pleasure, what do they consume when they prepare for war?" The flavor war. The Galactic Council chambers were chaos. News of Admiral Kfor collapsing after a single bite of Terran cuisine, specifically, a dish called chili con carne, had rippled across the known galaxy like a shockwave. Whispers and panic spread in every tongue and dialect. The humans attempted assassination. It was sabotage through flavor. The spice burned his throat alive. Their food is a chemical weapon. 1,000 voices rose against one another, each trying to place blame, each eager to rewrite the narrative before facts could anchor it in place. High Chancellor Drex, whose shimmering carapace reflected the council chamber's light, slammed his claw down against the dais. "Order! Order!" The echoes silenced the hall, though nervous glances remained. The humans sat at their long table near the back, dressed in their understated black uniforms with subtle Earth insignias. Among them was Lieutenant Maya Ortiz, the same human cadet who had prepared the chili for the banquet. Her arms were crossed, her eyes narrow, daring anyone to meet her gaze. "Let the record show," Drex intoned, "that Admiral Kfor was not poisoned. His body chemistry simply reacted violently to the—" He glanced at a trembling aide who whispered frantically, "to the compound known as capsaicin, found in human food." The word capsaicin burned through the chamber like an accusation. A delegate from the Brocari, their translucent throat pouches fluttering, leaned forward. "You mean to tell us these creatures willingly eat substances so caustic they nearly incinerated one of our most decorated admirals from the inside?" All eyes turned to the humans. Maya cleared her throat, stood, and offered a smile that was neither apologetic nor humble. "Yes," she said simply. A ripple of horror and disbelief swept through the chamber. The trial of flavor. Within an hour, the council voted unanimously to outlaw all human cuisine until a thorough investigation could be conducted. The humans protested, of course, but they were drowned out by cries of "safety" and biochemical warfare. But the humans had one thing most species underestimated: patience and stubbornness. Maya and her compatriots waited. And while they waited, stories began to leak. The guards who had detained the humans during the immediate aftermath reported strange details. That they had continued to eat their own meals in confinement, casually spooning fiery red soups into their mouths, unaffected by the agony it had caused the Admiral. A rumor emerged that humans had weaponized their tongues, an evolutionary adaptation that allowed them to consume toxic matter as nourishment. Another rumor insisted that humans had evolved eating poison daily, training themselves to shrug off what would kill lesser beings. Each rumor, of course, only fueled the fear, the request for demonstration. Weeks passed. At last, the council reconvened to discuss the human food question. "This is no trivial matter," Drex announced, his voice reverberating. "Our societies trade, live, and fight side by side. If their food is indeed a chemical weapon, it could compromise every treaty and alliance." Delegates murmured. Some nodded gravely. Others sharpened claws, mandibles, or tusks. At last, one voice pierced the air. "Let them demonstrate." It was Counselor Ray, from the insectoid class. Her compound eyes glittered. "We should see for ourselves. If these humans claim their food is safe for them, let them prove it in front of us. Let us witness." The chamber buzzed with intrigue. Maya stood slowly. "You want us to cook for you again? After everything?" Counselor Ray leaned forward, antennae twitching. "Yes, but under observation. If nothing else, it will prove whether you truly consume such fire willingly." Drex hesitated, but he sensed the tide of curiosity overcoming fear. "Very well," he declared. "A demonstration shall be permitted, under controlled conditions." The cook-off. The next day, in a chamber retrofitted into a sterile kitchen, Maya stood at a long counter flanked by other human chefs. Alien scientists hovered nearby with scanners, containment fields, and medical teams. "Today," Maya said, tying her apron, "you're going to learn what flavor means." The aliens murmured nervously as the humans began to work. They chopped peppers, bright red, green, and yellow. Steam rose from simmering pots, carrying aromas so strong that some alien delegates gagged and had to retreat behind filters. A brocari collapsed entirely, their delicate throat pouch overwhelmed by the scent alone. Meanwhile, the humans worked unfazed, laughing, chatting, tossing ingredients casually into pots. To them, this was comfort food. To the aliens, it looked like alchemy mixed with warfare. At last, the humans presented 3 dishes. Spicy curry, thick, golden, with a fragrance that punched the air. Buffalo wings, coated in fiery orange sauce that shimmered under the lights. Chili con carne, the dish that had felled Admiral Kvor. Maya stepped forward. "We won't ask you to taste them. Just watch." The humans sat, bowls in front of them, and began eating with pleasure. Beads of sweat formed on their foreheads, but they smiled, chuckled, and went back for seconds. The aliens watched in disbelief. "Is it pain?" whispered a Zyran scientist. "They appear to be suffering." "No," another corrected. "They appear to be enjoying it." Indeed, the humans' faces flushed, eyes watered, but their laughter grew louder. One soldier pounded the table and shouted, "Now that's the good stuff." The council was shaken. The confrontation. At last, Admiral Kvor, now recovered though still haunted by the experience, rose to his feet. His armor gleamed under the lights, though his posture betrayed unease. "I have seen many weapons in my lifetime," he said, voice low, "but none so insidious as this. These creatures poison themselves and call it pleasure. They embrace agony. They turn pain into ritual. How can we trust warriors who dine on suffering?" Gasps filled the chamber. Maya stood, her gaze locked onto Kvores with steel. "You think it's suffering? You think it's poison?" She jabbed a finger at the steaming pots. "This is survival. Do you know where we come from, Admiral? Earth isn't gentle. Our ancestors had to eat whatever they found. Bitter roots, toxic plants, spoiled meat. We learned to endure. to adapt, to take poison and make it food. Her voice rose, echoing through the hall. You fear what nearly killed you, but that's what forged us. Humans don't run from fire, we swallow it, make it part of us. That's why we survive wars, plagues, famines. That's why when everything burns, we're still standing. Our food isn't a weapon. It's a warning. The chamber fell into stunned silence. The challenge. Admiral Cuisine sneered. Words. If you wish to prove humans are not deceitful, then one of us must eat as you eat. Will you accept that challenge, human? The council erupted in protest. Delegates shouted, begged, argued. It was too dangerous. Madness. Suicide. But Maya's smile returned, sharp and unyielding. If one of you dares, I'll prepare the plate myself. The chamber roared. The bite heard across the galaxy. In the end, it was Counselor Ray who volunteered. The insectoid leaned forward, mandibles clicking nervously. For truth, she said. For understanding. The room held its breath as Maya set down a single buffalo wing on a plate before her. Ray raised it with trembling claws. She glanced at Maya, who nodded encouragement. Then slowly Ray bit. The sauce coated her mandibles, sizzling slightly. Her compound eyes widened. She froze. Seconds stretched into eternity. And then, Ray coughed, shuddered, and let out a sound none had expected. Clicking, chirping laugh. It burns, she rasped. But it is not death. It is... She paused, clicking again. Exhilarating. The chamber exploded in noise. The aftermath. The council's ban was lifted, though restrictions remained. Alien restaurants scrambled to experiment cautiously with Terran cuisine, often in diluted, safer forms. Humans, of course, laughed at the watered-down attempts. But they didn't push, because in the end the humans had proven their point. Food was not their weakness. It was their philosophy, their survival written into every bite. And while aliens whispered about the dangerous human tongue, they also watched with something new, something rarer than fear. Respect. Epilogue. Admiral Cuisine, still humiliated, recorded a private message to his fleet. Beware the humans. They consume poison like nourishment. They wield suffering like joy. And if you think their weapons are dangerous, you should see their kitchens. Somewhere deep in space, 1,000 warlords read that message and hesitated before making humans their enemy.